Yeah, how long was the last time before this you had
Where are you now, sir?
I am still in Arizona.
Very nice. Very nice.
Hey, Judah, your mic is either off or something.
I don't know.
Hold on. Is my mic still off?
Yeah.
They were experiencing technical difficulties.
Let's see.
Gary, you can't hear me?
No.
How are you saying no?
Your mic on, I'm in Zoom and your volume is not moving in your mic either. I just checked you, my friend.
That is very strange. Technical difficulties, we're sorry. You're telling me my mic's not on. What about now? Okay, you're right. Gary, start us off then until I could.
Oh, what? Me? I don't know what the heck.
Okay. What about now?
Now we're going. Now we're cooking.
Okay, it's not going to be as prim and proper, but I want to welcome everybody to the world according to the fabulous Benjamin Jeremy Stein. We are joined tonight by, say what you are, Gary, because I always get it confused.
Oh, just an all-around good guy. Life simplification, going off the grid, you name it.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
Going life simplification.
Very good. Very
Yes.
good. Very good.
TheSimpleLifeNow.com. Go there.
I am in a very, very complicated life.com.
Of course, we are joined by actor, writer, father, grandfather, economist, somebody that's doing something that I don't know what he's doing.
I know. I'm trying to find is a fresh, delicious, incredibly good Fig Newton, and I have to get my phone out of the way to get it.
And we are joined by America's humble servant, who I hope his phone is off, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. Welcome aboard.
I'm going to turn my phone off because I'm too stupid to remember to do it unless my smart, young, very, very much younger friend Judah tells me.
Okay, and of course, I want to thank everybody that's listening in our YouTube channel. But most of all, I want to thank everybody for downloading the show. I learned we are in 10 different countries.
10 different countries.
People are listening to us in Albania.
You're kidding. You're kidding. No, you're kidding.
No, Albania, I swear to you.
Really?
Yes.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I have two cousins that I've spoken to you about, Judah. They both entered immortality, but they were great fans of a certain Chinese restaurant. And they actually, at one point, were teachers in Albania.
That's very interesting. And if you would like to share the story with people, Gary, this is one of the most incredible stories.
Okay, may I tell the story?
Yes, please tell the story, Ben.
Well, my mother had several sisters, one of whom had around roughly 1928, had twin boys, both very handsome, both very smart. They one went to NYU Law School, one went to Harvard Law School. They didn't really like being lawyers, and their father was quite a successful businessman in a small town in upstate New York called Monticello, New York, the Jewish Alps, as they used to call them, and lots and lots of Jewish resorts and so forth. Anyway, so these two young men did all kinds of real estate development, which didn't work out very well. So at a latter stage of their lives, they were pretty hard up, and they did all kinds of things like teaching English in Albania, and but they were still always broke. And I was at that time in my life making an excellent living, superb living. I mean, nothing compared with what people on Wall Street make, but by most standards, a good living. And they were always broke, and I would send them money. And over the course of several years, I sent them several $100,000. And then they passed away, entered immortality, shoveled off this mortal coil, as we say. And I thought for sure we're going, and they were not insolvent. They turned out to have several $100,000. I thought for sure they were going to leave me some of the money I had given them. No, they left it to the waiters at their favorite Chinese restaurant in Monticello, New York. It's beyond belief. Well, I can't hear you, Judah, but I would like to hear you because it is an amazing story.
No good deed will go unpunished.
I know that, boy. That is one of the truest comments in history. But anyway, I'm sorry for boring you, but you had turned up your volume.
No, it's an incredible story, but I want to welcome everybody back to the World According to Ben Stein. We have an interesting topic tonight that I've been thinking a lot about. When people bring up the old
sugar cookie.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping me on track with your fig Newtons.
The fig Newton is a sugar cookie.
But when people speak about when people try to talk about the Bible, whether you believe or not, I always say to people, when growing up, you hear, you'd always hear stories about baseball players, and we wouldn't have video oftentimes, but if you hear stories about Shoeless Joe Jackson or DiMaggio doing these miraculous things, and people saw them do these things. And I always say, in my humble opinion, I'm often saying, well, who am I to say that didn't happen? Who am I to say that didn't happen because we have no visual evidence of that? So recently, Tom Brady, won his 90,000 Super Bowl. And if you were to tell people about this without video or without, people would say, no, that never happened. Nobody for 20 years did what he's done. He's literally done. He accomplished stuff of biblical proportion.
It's impossible. Yeah, what he's done is impossible.
In my humble opinion. Right. And both Gary and I are massive Rush fans, and there's a great line in one of their songs called "Closer to the Heart," and there's a line in it where we'll mold a new reality closer to the heart. But the line isn't we'll mold our own reality closer to the heart. And I have never seen in my life, to both of you, reality being so distorted, even though we have actual video of what is going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing. And I assume you're referring to the attempted coup d'etat on Capitol Hill on January 6th, right?
I'm referring to
Now, Judah,
we lost you, Judah.
I'm losing your sound, my dear friend.
Lost you again.
Judah, fix your sound.
Technology. But still. But when you look at that,
and I, Gary, are gonna fill in.
I'm
gonna start filling in because I'm a lot older than you, so I'll start filling in. Everyone's saying, not everyone, but the Democrats and the leftists and various other people are saying that President Trump encouraged people to riot and seize control of the government by seizing the Capitol, and encouraged people to not be peaceful, but to go seize the Capitol. I, your humble servant, read President Trump's speech, word for word, taken down by the White House Office of Communications, word for word. There was not one word inciting violence. And in fact, he said, if you're going up there in my name, you've got to be peaceful and patriotic. Nevertheless, he's charged with inciting violence, even though it's clear as a bell that he didn't incite violence. That couldn't be more clear. What's going on here? Craziness.
Well, Ben, were you confused like I was about how many people were killed during the siege of the Capitol? Because it was World War III, according to them. When I listened and heard the facts, and I hope these are the facts. It sounded right. 3 of the deaths were strokes.
Right.
One was not during the event. One was later. One was a suicide, and the only person killed was that 35-year-old woman. And the facts I heard is she was crawling through the window, unarmed, and the Capitol Police men shot her. We don't know who
Policewoman, I think. I think it was a policewoman.
was it a policewoman? Okay, yeah. And we don't know who it was. We don't know what anything else. And I was kept hearing 5 people massacred.
Right. Well, it gets better than that, because if I may say so, I don't want to be trumping your ace, but but it gets better than that, because also there's a lot of talk about armed demonstrators, rioters, looters going up there. We've seen jillions of clips from people videotaping this whole thing, doing it on their cell phones. Thousands of people doing it. There has been one image, at least that I've seen. I could be wrong. I make a great many mistakes. I could be wrong. There has been one image, not one, of an armed demonstrator. Now, I could have missed it. Could be there. I haven't seen one. And certainly nobody armed with a weapon of like a pistol, or, excuse me, a rifle or a bayonet or anything serious. I've never seen anything. They say that people are saying they're up there with explosives, Molotov cocktails. Surely that would have been shown. Don't get me wrong. I think it was a terrible thing that they went into the Capitol, and they should not have gone in, and the police should not have let them in. But as far as there being an armed, well-armed, cooperating, highly trained mob bent on destruction, there's just, as far as we, the people, are allowed to see, I haven't seen it. If it's there, I thoroughly and humbly apologize. I haven't seen it.
Well, there was a Viking. The Viking. He was very violent.
Okay, so he was a friend of Judas, but I've never. He did not look to me like he was armed, but certainly not with a gun.
Just with horns.
Yeah, but I mean, let's like get off too far off the track. Clearly, what these men and women did was not just wrong, but wildly wrong. But in terms of it being an insurrection or attempt to seize government, that's just. I mean, they might as well have said these people came down to Earth in spaceships. I mean, there's just no evidence of it.
Well, I think the guy, Judah's friend, I think he's still in jail.
Oh, is he? Judah,
yeah, they won't let him out. I think they non-bonded him, even. He can't bond out.
Well, it's a very scary thing. I mean, I love the police. I'm a huge fan of the police. I think they do great work. But somehow something has gone terribly wrong, because not only were the police not stopping these people, but now they're coming out with a supposedly detailed commentary on the whole thing, and supposedly shows that the demonstrators, protesters, rioters were highly organized, armed Gestapo stormtroopers. There's just no evidence of it.
Again, I wasn't just referring to the what's going on in the Capitol. I'm referring to the better part of 5 years. I'm referring to the emperor has they fully have taken off their clothing. They've perpetuated lies that we've seen on video. You have Fauci 10 months ago saying don't wear a mask. You have the Surgeon General of America saying don't wear a mask. We have 5 years of the press making up salacious accusations against the former president, against people in our country.
Salacious, I'm not sure that's the word you want, but it's a damn good word in this case. It actually is a damn good word in this case.
So then it was the word I wanted.
Well, no, because salacious has to do with sexual things. And was he accused of sexual misconduct? If he was,
before he ran for president, he was, yes. Okay. And remember, there was Stormy Daniels. That's how long ago it was. Is that we don't even remember half the crocs that they.
Who is Stormy Daniels? Oh, she was that stripper.
Yeah, and then you had Kavanaugh with the salacious stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like we had 15 years compressed into 4 years. And if you just tuned in, my audio's back. It might not be what it normally is because my microphone's not working. You are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. We are joined tonight by the real Gary Collins, who has an amazing haircut, not the other Gary Collins from the 70s.
Let me see your haircut.
But the Gary Collins from today. I want to thank everybody in the Zoom chat. And I want to thank everybody in the YouTube chat and everybody for downloading us. Remember, go to Apple iTunes, go to all the downloading services, and please download the show. It does a lot for us. It helps us out. So please do it. Even if you listen to the show, still your friend's show, and please do it. And I want to welcome everybody back to the world according to Ben Stein, but another form of reality. And Gary and I were talking about this today, and we're going to talk about race a little bit, because I know my mother has brought this up to me, and I don't watch a lot of television, but my mother has brought up how you can't get away from watching and Ben, you've brought this up a million times, and Gary brought this up, and I'll let you guys have it, about, what is it, 1 in 7 Americans are black, right? Yet
roughly that, yes.
Yet we're living in a time, a distorted time, where it's like, I almost want to say, white people in show business, just surrender your work, give up, and say, I'm just hand it over, guys. Because
yeah, well, this is an amazing thing where we are supposedly owing black people reparations, and maybe we do. None of my immediate family have ever been slave owners, and I would be very ashamed of them if they had been. But clearly, terrible wrongs were perpetrated against African Americans. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the way they were treated until quite recently was shameful and disgusting. But the idea that they are still treated that way is just not true. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of data about that, and it's just not true. So why are we now being overwhelmed with stories and photographs and other images about this systemic racism, just as it's stopping? I mean, if people want to talk about the Ku Klux Klan in 1935, when Robert Byrd, a prominent Democrat, was involved in it, fine, absolutely, it's a great subject. But if they want to talk about the Ku Klux Klan when they were lynching people, even up into the late 40s, it was a horrible subject, deserves to be talked about. But why now, when things are getting to be really good, finally, are we stirring up these embers? Why are we stirring up the embers when things are really on a positive track?
Yeah, well, I think it's closer to 1 out of 10 Americans.
No, it's 14%.
Is it 14? Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was 1 out of 7 because, well, yeah, that's right. Bad math. But yeah, and for me and Judah were talking earlier today, and I don't watch commercials. I DVR almost everything except for live sporting events, obviously, and I watch those. And I've noticed over the last year and a half, almost every commercial is either biracial, black, and I'm all for all inclusive.
Yeah, I guess so.
But when I at one point I counted 13 commercials in a row where the black actor was prominent in the commercial, and I'm all, am I missing? Am I seeing something odd here? And every commercial almost, it would show some fat white guy as just a idiot, and I'm like, whoa, okay. So the white guy is a moron, and he's out of shape, and he's dumb. Everyone else is really smart, and is it just me, Ben? Am I the only one seeing this, or
your humble servant? This person, if I can even call myself a person, wrote a book about this. First, I started writing about it for the Wall Street Journal when the great Bob Bartley was the editor of the editorial page, and Bob said he had noticed the same thing, that on TV shows, and this was before it was on the commercials, on TV shows, white people were almost always idiots and Klansmen and violent and stupid, and black people were kindly, thoughtful, and sensitive, and never violent. And I then wrote a book about this called The View from Sunset Boulevard. I'm not promoting my book. Every person watching this and every person he or she has ever known in his life could buy 10 copies. It would not affect my income at all. But it is very clear that Hollywood wants to portray America as a racist country in which the white people are terrible bastards and the black people are saintly. Obviously, many white people are terrible bastards. Many black people are saintly. But the idea that this is a consistent pattern is a highly racist, inflammatory, and false depiction of America.
Yeah, I thought I was just, you know,
No, it's not. You're not blind, and this is what's happening in America. And of course, it's happening also in movies. It's happening in TV shows and TV commercials. There are not many TV shows being made now, but when they are made, the African American person is always the good guy, and the black person is almost always the saintly guy and the most thoughtful guy, and the white person is a bad person. And I don't like it because A, it's repetitive. B, it stokes the fires of racial hatred.
yeah.
And C, no good can come of it. I don't see where any good can come of it. We all, we all of us Americans are ashamed of the way black people have been treated in America for a very long time.
I'm
It's
just very upset. Do you know Jake from State Farm? He literally went. He was white as white gets, and
I
then
don't know who he is.
it's a commercial.
It's a
for State
commercial series.
Oh,
Jake from State Farm was this goofy white guy, right? Who works for State Farm. Actually, good commercials. All of a sudden, Jake is black. Out of nowhere, the guy just disappears, and he's black. And he's a pretty buff dude. He keeps getting buffer, I've noticed every time. So he's lifting weights too and hanging out with Aaron Rodgers. But it got weird. I was like, what happened to Jake? Where'd Jake go?
No, but you raise a good point though, and this is the point I'm trying to bring up. Is most of us look at certain things, and at a certain point, it's so much that it becomes like if you like we brought this up in the past. You realize you're being pandered to.
the
It's
black
almost
people are being pandered to by the white people. Black people are saying we're gonna. The black people are just being condescended to in the most outrageous way, and it's just nauseating that the powers that be pander to them, and as if they were not smart enough to make up their own minds and to open their eyes and see. They can see. I mean, for God's sakes, they can see. I mean, what does Madison Avenue think they're doing? I've made many commercials. I'm sure I won't make any more now, but I've made many commercials. Sometimes the people make them are very smart people. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's going to get worse before it gets better, if it ever does get better. But it's a situation where we are going to have ass kissing of the non-white community for a very long time, and then it'll start little by little returning to quote normal, whatever normal is, and then it will go on as if it had never happened.
So I want to ask you both a question, because I was actually on the phone with a friend of mine before, where there's, at what point do the 85% of Americans or the 70% or the 60% of Americans say, I've had enough, right? I see the video, 2 people stabbed to death in New York City on the train. Is it when it gets into their neighborhood that they say, you know what? Oh my God. How much longer could the media keep covering up what's going on? And that's
A very long time. This has been going on for a long time, Judah.
But not with this visual evidence, sir. Not with this absolute visual evidence.
Sure. I'm the one who's always telling you that there's data and there's anecdote. And the data is that the situation for African Americans in terms of the commission of violent crimes is wildly out of proportion to their numbers in the population, and not in a good way. And this is completely ignored by the media, completely overlooked by the media. It's as if it isn't even happening, but it is happening, and and it doesn't do any good to pretend it's not happening. It is happening. Believe me, if I may say this, the people who live in the African American communities in downtown LA or downtown Washington D.C. or wherever it is, they know it's happening. They don't think that the president of the local bank is committing these armed robberies. They know who's committing the armed robberies. What good does it do to tell them the president of the local bank is the armed robber? What good does it do them to lie about that?
Well, here as a former law enforcement officer, Here's where I kind of got very disparaged at the end of my career is there's two justice systems, definitely. Cuomo should actually face hundreds, if not thousands of counts of homicide. He should, flat out, period. There's plenty of evidence to convict him and put him away for the rest of his life. Plenty. The problem is nothing ever happens to these people. And that's where I got frustrated at the end of my government career, is this guy is literally responsible for killing thousands of people. And it's, you know what they're talking about? Oh, he should be impeached or resign. No, he needs to be convicted.
Yeah,
And
I'm
all
afraid
the
this
staff
is
who was
happening.
involved.
I'm afraid this is happening all over the country, and there's a reason why it's happening. The media does not report the truth. People don't understand what the truth is. I have had many conversations with young people, college age, or slightly out of college age, about the criminal statistics, and they know nothing about the truth of these statistics or the untruth of them. It's an extremely disappointing situation. What are we going to do if we don't know the truth? How are we ever going to resolve it? How are we ever going to get to where we can take any measures to fix the situation if the media is purposely lying to us up and down, straight to our faces, endlessly?
Well, they definitely carry his water for him, but now they can't. It's too much is leaking, too much is coming out.
So, Gary, sadly, I disagree with you on this because they can, and they are. Somebody will take the fall for Cuomo. But as long as his brother is still at CNN and CNN still is carrying the Democrats' bag and MSNBC, you're right. This is the point. In a rational world, Gary Collins is 100% correct using logic. But logic and doesn't really work in today's day and age, even with video of him lying about the situation and all that stuff. Cuomo will never step down. As a former New Yorker, he's very similar to his father. They were great speakers, but they didn't do anything. And it's frightening the what the media is, playing fullback for these, for, like you said, a guy that's killed people, literally killed people, Gary.
Well, think of it. A comparison would be the same thing is if I went around and say I tainted a water system in a community with some poison or virus that eventually killed people. I would be convicted very quickly. If they've put two and two together, you're gone. You're done. The evidence is so overwhelming. I'm literally nauseated when I listen to him talk. He is a murderer, plain and simple. And I know what the defense is going to be. Well, he didn't know. Well, any good lawyer could prove. So let me get this, Cuomo. You didn't know that putting people with basically a very high operating flu, because COVID is a flu virus. You didn't know that exposing elderly people with compromised immune systems to a very severe case of the flu would kill them? Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that.
9 to 14,000 people, right? Which take those 9 to 14,000 that were sick, got other people sick. And people love to, Trump sent him a ship.
Yeah.
They made the Jacob Javits Center, which for people that aren't from New York is massive. Within a week, they had every bed extra that they needed. And this jackass was sending, and I had a friend of mine who's suing the state because his mother was one of those people in the nursing homes that died. And he was in Canada at the time. He couldn't get a hold of them. He spoke with them on the night before. The nursing homes were delinquent, saying that she was going to the hospital, which she never went. And she was literally murdered. And he was like, in a sense, he was in Canada. He couldn't do anything about it. Even if he wasn't in Canada, he couldn't have done anything about it. And it's amazing. And he's not the only one.
I don't want to hear civil. I'm tired of civil.
Yeah.
Criminal. I want criminal charges on these guys.
Yeah,
period.
But you're not going to get them because the prosecutors are the same kind of people as the civil servants and the media. They are determined to cover up the truth. The truth is a fugitive in this country. The truth is a fugitive being chased by a pack of jackal lies, and they're a very powerful jackal pack, and we've got to be worried about them. I mean, it's funny. I had a conversation last night with a friend, and he was saying how worried he was about the situation here. I said, "Well, move to North Idaho." He said, "Well, he couldn't get any work in North Idaho," and I said, "Well, just don't go out of your house. Just stay in your house. Don't ever go out of your house." And that I'm afraid is getting to be the solution to these problems. More and more people just don't go out of their houses and don't read the newspapers, don't watch TV. I was about to say don't watch the newsreels at movie theaters, but that's a long time ago. We're in a world where the truth is an endangered species.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. This is our Saturday night special. It's so special my audio has gone out a few times. And I want to thank everybody that's joining in the YouTube chat. That we know your time is precious, and we thank you for joining us on this Saturday night. Of course, the people in our Zoom room, we thank them too. And we thank everybody that's been downloading the show. It's really important to us. And it means the world to us that you're downloading our show on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and all that jazz. And we love it. I love it. And I will
say we all love it. And if you will do it, tell your friends and neighbors, have them tell their friends and neighbors, and we grow. More and more truth is going to come out. Truth, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, truth crushed to earth will rise again. And the networks are trying to crush it to earth. We're trying in our own pathetic little way to make it rise again.
100%. And we're joined by Gary Collins and, of course, America's humble servant, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. And you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. And the conversations we're having tonight, and the conversation I had with Gary on the phone before, are sort of the conversations that I believe a lot of people are having inside their houses, but they're not having them outside their houses because they're scared to death about getting canceled.
You bet. Scared to death that they'll lose their jobs, they'll lose their friends, they'll lose their neighbors. I mean, it's interesting, my dear friends. I don't even know my neighbors here in Beverly Hills. Otherwise, I would lose them, but I don't know them. So that's not a problem for me. I have a wonderful small circle of friends, men and women, and that we all agree truth is getting murdered out there by the media and the politicians, especially the Democrat politicians. It's just a scary, scary, scary world. We've got to get our truth back. We've got, there's some talk by various people saying, "Oh, well, maybe you didn't see it, but that's my truth." My truth is the data, and the data is overwhelming that the media is lying to us on issues of race. That's overwhelming.
So today, Gary and Ben, Another Person got canceled. It's a show I don't watch. It's a show I've never watched, which is The Bachelor. Sorry?
What is the show?
The host of The Bachelor got canceled today. He had to leave his job. He didn't say anything racist, but he defended a person that went to, I guess, an Antebaum concert, or not a concert, but they have these Antebaum shows.
What is Antebaum?
Antebellum, the band?
Antebellum, I'm sorry.
Oh, Antebellum.
Antebellum. And I guess they were dressed in a certain way. They were I don't even know the story, but he came out and he defended her, saying, essentially she was at this isn't who she is. And he had to resign for actually sticking up. And let me ask you a question. So you damage control, right? That used to be a big business, right? It was like, Tiger Woods cheated on his wife 40 times. He went to sex rehab. We used to be a very forgiving country. We have lost all sense of reality.
Well, that is really good, Judah. That's really good.
And all sense of forgiveness. And to cancel somebody that stands up for somebody. And if you were a damage control expert, at this point, you have to tell them to trump it. You might as well. There's no point in apologizing, because the people still think if you apologize, they'll allow you back in. There's no welcoming back committee anymore.
Well, look what happened to Gina Carano. I mean,
Look at what happened to who, Gary?
Gina Carano is a former
From that show. Yeah,
well,
sorry.
she was a MMA fighter too, and she was in The Mandalorian on Disney, and Disney's gone way off the deep end. And all she
That
did
is
was
not your grandfather's Disney.
no.
That Disney was taken over by people very, very different from Walt Disney a long time ago.
Long time ago. Yeah, well, she was fired by stating that the tribal differences right now, political divide, she was comparing it to what Nazism, how Nazism became to rise, how neighbor against neighbor, you know, how and she made a very good example. I don't want to butcher her. I read the tweet because I had to go see it. I'm all,
We
what the
spoke
heck?
about it the other night, but
Yeah.
you're completely
Why
right.
don't you run it by me, sir? Because I don't remember. Why don't you run it by
It
me?
was
Sir?
to sum up what Gary was saying. She basically said that people were being killed before the rise by their neighbor. You know, they were being dehumanized, which allowed them to be killed, which then allowed Nazism to take power and take control. And she was basically making the correlation to today's day and age of Trump supporters or conservatives being dehumanized, and we're a hop, skip, and a jump from from being killed and or imprisoned or any of that stuff. And Ben, you bring it up, you say it all the time, and when you see a cop, you're scared they're going to arrest you for what you've said.
This has just happened recently, just a block and a half from where wifey and I live. There are parks, and there were many pro-Trump demonstrations there. And the police, I guess, eventually broke them up and told them they couldn't have them anymore. And now, whenever I see a police car in my neighborhood, and we live very close to the police station, very, very close to the police station, I'm afraid as the police arresting a pro-Trump demonstrator or speaker, and to think that I have to be afraid of being arrested in my own neighborhood for political views, that's really, really scary and upsetting. I don't like it at all, not one bit.
So Gary, hopefully you're not going to watch The Mandalorian anymore.
What is The Mandalorian? There used to be a restaurant here called The Mandarin. It's been gone for a long time.
Gary, why don't you tell them what The Mandalorian is?
The Mandalorian is an offshoot of Star Wars, but the writer was someone who was a fan of it, so it's actually good, unlike the last ones. It was actually probably some of the best work they'd done since the original Star Wars, and I liked it. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much out. You know, I hate to be that way. And you guys know me. I don't have a team. You know, I'm not non-political, but I am kind of apolitical. And I live in different worlds in the sense of I see things for what they are on both sides. And for me, what we're seeing with this cancellation, and if you say one wrong thing, it's scary. I mean, these are people's careers and lives completely being ruined at the bat of an eye for something they said that, and that's, I mean, you go back and read, someone posted a lot of her or reposted her old tweets. They weren't that hot. They were pretty benign. And you're like, so voicing your opinion now will get you fired.
Well, it's like it's very, very much like Bolshevik Russia, very, very much like Hitler's Germany, very much like Mussolini's Italy, and I would say, it couldn't possibly happen here, but it is happening here. It is happening in real time right now. Now, I'm an old man, and I don't. I've already lived and had a great, wonderful life. I have wonderful friends. But boy, if I were a young person today, I'd be awfully worried. I'd be really, really worried.
No, it is worrisome because, I was talking to somebody before, they were asking me what I do or this or that. And, as I've often shared on the show about doing my research on the dating apps, saying, because on the dating apps now, Gary, if you're not aware of this, I don't think you are, you basically, they force you to put your ideology in there.
Judah, do you happen to have one of those that you could read out to us over the air?
Why, yes, I happen to, and I will read you.
Would you be kind enough to do that?
I will read you, Gary, what you are forced to fill out, the questions and answers they give you. Hold on a second. Let me go to preferences. Okay, so it first is I'm interested in women, and they ask you, do you want that shown on screen? Right? Yeah. Do you want it visible what you're interested in?
All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, say that
Then
again.
it says ethnicity, right?
Definitely.
So you're able to put in what ethnicities you're interested in,
Mhm.
and then is that a deal breaker or not?
I don't understand that. You mean if you say you're
don't
only
understand
interested
either.
in
Like East Asian, Hispanic, Latino, Middle Eastern, South Asian, white, Caucasian, you're able to sort of do that, okay? And then say, is that a deal breaker? Then there are the other obvious ones, but then gets into politics. And then you could write liberal, moderate, conservative, other, open to all. And is this a deal breaker? So
I don't
it's
understand that. What is that? A deal breaker? I mean,
it
the
means that
person who's
will you
dishonest
not
has to
go
do the
out with a
same
person if
thing?
they don't share your political views? And this is not just this is the tribalism. And I mean, it's frightening for it. Here's what's frightening: that we live. Life is built on yin and the yang, right? Gary and I, we probably in band, we don't always agree or disagree on the same things, but we're supposed to be able to speak about those things. We're supposed to be able to that's how the only way you learn. I mean that's this is where I feel terrible for people even younger than me, and I'm 44, that they're not
Younger than
growing up in
I.
a world, Ben, where you could disagree, where you could where people aren't we're being told to separate, and that's frightening.
The whole thing is frightening, but what about you just say, I don't care to answer these questions? Can you say that?
Yeah, can you
Sorry,
not answer?
Judah, can you hear us now, sir?
I didn't hear what your question was.
I said, what if in response to this questionnaire, you simply write in, with all due respect, I don't choose to answer these questions.
It doesn't give you that option. It's like you have to, it's like a little box you check.
You have to check
And
it. You have to check it.
What do you get if you lie? What happens to you?
but what's the point? And what's the point in lying when the truth is easily revealed? And because people do their detective work these days, women, and and let's say your name happens to be Judah, it's not hard to Google. And so what comes up? Jew, conservative, Trump supporter. Let me tell you something. It is a insta way to sort of end every conversation. And it's I'm really actually doing this because I'm enjoying like the amount of rejection. I guess I'm a bit of a masochist right now. Like I'm enjoying like the rejection, Gary. But
You're
did you?
never getting a date in LA.
Sorry,
You're never getting a date in LA. Sure.
I'm never getting a. Yeah, I mean, I'm the. And here's the thing that I tell people. It's like I feel bad. I mean, there are a lot of people, let's say, that are getting divorces through COVID, right? And having their marriages or whatever going through COVID.
I
And
haven't heard anything about that. Where'd you get that?
well, the divorce rate has gone up this year,
Well,
obviously.
that is that has nothing to do with causation.
Sorry?
That doesn't prove
Well, I would
causation.
imagine being stuck at home with people, or I would imagine relationships have been very strained by the being
Well,
home with each
imagining
other.
something and having data about it.
Well, no, we know spousal abuse is up. We know the amount of antidepressants people are taking are up. We know the amount of alcoholism's up during this period of time.
We don't know that they're connected with the COVID.
Okay. I'm going to say they are, and take the leap of faith and say that in the last 10 months, we know that people taking anti-anxiety medicine has gone up 35%. Now, you could say that, I don't know how you could say that's anecdotal data, but if in a 10-month period where we've all been trapped at home and people are taking more antidepressants, I don't see how that's not a direct correlation.
Well, okay. Well, it isn't a direct correlation, with all due respect. But what I want to know is this: if I may respectfully ask this, what if you write and say, I'm a Democrat, I'm a leftist, I'm everything you want me to be. And then you go out on a date with the girl, I assume it's a girl, a woman, and at the dinner, as the dinner is being served, you say, by the way, I have to be honest here, I lied on the questionnaire. I'm really a reactionary hyena. And I'm a terrible person. I believe people should be judged on their character and by what kind of lives they've lived, and not on the basis of labels.
Okay, Pollyanna.
What's going to happen now? What
Yes,
happens? to you?
thank you, Ben. It's a beautiful dream, but it's just not a reality. People have lost their have lost all sense of
How about if you say all those things and then say, I'll give you a Porsche if you have sex with me after our date tonight.
Done deal. Instantly.
that Ben. That's a whole other dating app.
Yeah,
And if you just tuned in, we have lost the wheels. You are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. I want to thank everybody that's listening into the YouTube channel. I am reading your comments, reminding everybody to download our episodes. We're joined tonight by Gary Collins and Ben Stein for our Saturday night special. And this is special. We are talking about a whole bunch of slew of different things. Ben is very big into anecdotal data and real data. I don't know how it's not real data, knowing that we've that 35% more people have gone on anti-anxiety meds in the last 10 months.
It's real. It's data. It doesn't show what caused it.
Ben, do you really not believe people being stuck at home and being
that's not what I believe.
depressed?
It's not data.
Okay, you know what? Gary and I are going to go on the road and get your data for you. We're going to knock on 100 doors and say, is the reason you decided to take Lexapro because of COVID? But
I would like you to go. You know how many doors you'd have to go to get convincing data?
No, you know what? Can I tell you something? This is where I disagree with you, because I'll tell you why. Because people don't realize when they do the polling, which we know is off, they only poll 600 to 700 people. These polling sites, they're not polling 20,000 people. They're polling 600, 1,000 people, and basing their polling science off of that.
And a lot of them use targeting.
That's true, but with all due respect, I want to go on to the next thing. Is there any better solution to this problem than to just make friends the old-fashioned way when the COVID is over? Go to a restaurant, go to a nightclub, bar, anything, and just make friends with people and talk to her or him and find out what kind of person he or she is. And maybe we should walk away from the dating apps and walk up to the in-person app.
Gary, what's your response to that? Because you've taken yourself off the market.
Completely. All this was spinning. I was thinking, who creates these dating apps? I have a pretty good idea which way they lean. Sounds like really good data mining to me. I would guess your data's being sold too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, those questions are good ones for data mining. I don't think it has anything to do. I bet a lot of these companies are creating dating apps in order to just get data and sell it. Has nothing to do with dating. It doesn't sound. Those questions are odd, and you should be able to not answer them if you do not want to. You just won't get dates. But hey, you're not going to get dates anyway, so you might as well not give them all your data. That's how I look at it. And the thing is, when you go on a date, do you have to ask if she goes by Jane or Joe?
Oh, that's a big.
And where is she at that point? Is she Joe right now, or is she Jane? We don't know.
So just so you know, so on Tinder, they go even deeper into this, where they ask you, "Are you pan? Are you?" I have to Google like the different. Like, I don't know what pansexual means, but it means something. Are you queer friendly? They ask you like 7 different types of. They go even deeper. That was an app called Hinge. On Tinder, they go even, like I just said, deeper into weird shit like that. I have to Google, and I think you're right, Gary. It's an awfully good form of data mining.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And for me. Oh God! Back in the day, I did it back in the day when dating apps were fairly new. It was a crazy world on the dating apps back then. I can't even imagine what it's like now. I was used to say it's the place, like social media took it over as the place of the broken. I used to say online dating was the place of the broken. I had some of the most interesting, odd dates I'd ever had in my life off online
Well,
dating.
let's go back to the political and economic arena that we talked about. Let's just jump over that data mining or whatever it is about dating. Say this: is Mr. Biden, is Mrs. Yellen, is anybody there in his administration doing anything dramatically different in terms of fighting the economic effects of the corona than President Trump and his group were doing? Has there been any kind of innovation in terms of economic policy that since January 20th? Because I don't see any. All I see is throw more money at it, throw more money at it, throw more money at it. And Trump had already thought of doing that anyway. So what innovations, if any, are we seeing in terms of fighting against the economic policy, economic effects of the pandemic?
Well, Ben, what policies are we seeing towards fighting the pandemic itself, or we're seeing nothing? I mean, and that's what we're going to see.
That's a very good point.
And that's what we're going to see for the next 4 years is absolutely nothing. We are not going to get any questions. There's going to be nothing of being combative, right? Last night, for example, on a show on a show that you hate because they were horrifically rude to you. The host is a complete jackass. But on the Bill Maher show, he had Steve Schmidt, that jackass that started the Lincoln Project, and which is the Never Trumpers, and one of the co-founders, likes to abuse his power with little boys. And Bill Maher, and Bill Maher didn't ask Steve Schmidt one question about it during the interview. And so we're going to be living in 4 years, at least right now, where no questions of seriousness are going to be asked. Nobody's going to ask Joe Biden about the economy. Nobody's going to ask him about COVID. Nothing, Ben.
Well, that's a very, very bad, serious situation. So then, in that case, doesn't that open the door very wide for the Republicans, us conservatives, or we conservatives, for us or we conservatives, to come through the door with some policies and plans? I think the time is ripe for us conservatives to come out with a detailed policy prescriptions for how to recover from the COVID, and without further wrecking the deficit situation in this country. I mean, the deficit situation in this country now is extremely frightening, and we should have some means of combating. We should have serious, thoughtful people. We unfortunately lost one of the most thoughtful and capable people in this world, George Shultz, a few days ago. Very, very sad loss. Let's see who we can make up for his loss with. I mean, this is a terrible situation, but it is a big opportunity for the conservatives of this country. There's such big chances here for us to say things that make sense.
Yeah, but the question is, who's listening? Who's going to hear it? Because as we see with Twitter and we see with other apps that have shut down conservative voices, do you think they're going to actually allow conservative voices in the next 3 years to put their policies forth? It doesn't.
Yes, matter. I do. In terms of things as nerdy as economic policy, I think they will do that. I really do. I really do. You don't think so? Well, you may well be right.
What do you think, Gary?
I don't think so either. What they did come up with a new COVID policy. It was to wear 2 masks, maybe 3.
Is that true?
Yes, it is true. It is true.
I can't tell. Gary is a funny guy.
No, he's being dead serious, Ben.
Fauci
says he wears 2 masks.
Yeah, and there's a great video a guy did. He's in.
Although I'm not sure if that's a metaphor, by the way, for who Fauci really is, wearing 2 masks. But go.
That's very good. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Billy Joel's The Stranger. We all have a face that we hide away forever. But go on, Gary. Sorry.
Yeah, but there's a good example of a guy. Once that came out, a guy did it below. I think it was below freezing weather. so you could see the condensation coming out of his breath. So he puts on one, just cloth mask, it blows out the sides, goes everywhere, puts on, a normal mask, a higher end mask, like a surgical mask, blows out all the sides, puts on one of the, P95s or whatever. I own them, M95 or N95. And we use them to cut wood. Blows out the sides. He puts on 2 masks, blows out the side. It was the exact same result for every single mask. It did nothing. And
I think now it's time to go back to my suggestion. We all just stay home all the time and have a nice time watching documentaries about World War II.
But then you're contradicting yourself, because you said we have to go back to how we originally dated. So you got to pick one or the other.
I already have all the.
Right.
I have a
So-
wife.
so
and I have all the women.
we're
friends
not all
that
in
I've
your
ever wanted
position.
for the rest of my life.
But Gary, getting back to it, that's the scariest thing. And said bye to Twitter, and Rock Breath, who I constantly talk to, and they're not anti-maskers. They just don't believe some of the data. I don't want to say if they're anti-maskers or not, but they don't believe some of the data. And it's still frightening to me that at what point Ben's had the vaccination. I think you're getting your next. Have you gotten the full one yet, Ben?
No, I have the full one on the 22nd.
Why does he have to wear a mask? I don't get, if you've had the vaccination, why you still have to wear the mask.
There's so much about modern life I don't get that I hardly know where to begin. There's very little of it I do get.
What do you think, Gary?
Universal shot card. Don't forget about that. Your universal immunization card. And you can be immunized and have tested positive for it, and you will still wear a mask on airlines to fly. And I said, I won't fly anymore. If I have to wear a mask, no matter what's going on all flights, I'll drive. I'll stay within my commuting area, do my speaking events within driving distance, and I hope all the airlines go straight out of business. I'm over it. I mean, why would you? I just don't get it anymore. It's gotten to the point of insanity. There's no rational thought anymore. The numbers are going down, yet a lot of the restrictions are not. Look at the states. What were the 2 states? Florida. What was the other state that? Tennessee. Those were 2 of the most open states. I think it was Tennessee. I may be wrong on that one.
No, I think you're right.
But they were below the 50% far as deaths. They were on the good side. I mean, the data just, I don't get it. It's getting to the point where they're just driving me nuts. I don't understand.
Well, because to Ben's point, there is no real data. The data is bullshit. And we all could, I mean, and if I get banned for saying the data is bullshit, then I'm going to, it's like, you can't pick and cherry pick your data. And that's what they're doing, Ben Stein. It's frightening what they've done. To 99% survival rate from COVID, right? I mean, that's what we do now. And what the draconian things, and Gavin Newsom is getting recalled, or at least they passed the threshold to do it.
I hope so.
No, they did. They passed the threshold to at least, they got 1.6 million signatures. They're on their way to 2 million, because they say 25% of those can't get authenticated. So in the state of California, hopefully we'll get this American psycho out of power.
And anyway, let's go back to this. We figured out a lot of the world is operating under standards of craziness. Let's try to get some smart people who are sane in there and run rough. Let's get Gary in there. Let's get you in there, Judah. Let's get some smart, decent people in there who believe in the truth. And as I said, I think the main thing we've learned is it is really, really hard to find any truth in the media anymore. And the truth is so sad on a racial basis, it's enough to make you cry. If the media started telling us the truth about race, people would be sobbing while they're reading their morning paper, if anyone reads newspapers anymore.
Well, you guys, are you guys seeing inflation in California? I've been gone. I've been gone for a while, but I'm seeing it. I'm building a house. I'm doing some other things. I'm seeing inflation already quickly this year. I'm seeing it in the prices for sure. Are you guys
Where
seeing
are
it?
you again, sir?
I'm in Arizona.
I don't know. Everything seems very expensive to me, but also seems very cheap to me. I don't know what to say about that. Okay.
Well,
I
our
think we now
guest is
have to
extremely
say,
expensive, and we are running out of time. I love how, Gary, I want to thank you for joining us now. How do people find you, Gary Collins?
Go to my website, thesimplelifenow.com, and Your Better Life podcast. It's all there. Go to the
And it's
website.
really good stuff, people. I really suggest you go. Gary gives amazing tips, metaphorically speaking, of how to live off the grid, how to live your authentic life. I can't think of anybody better than Gary Collins, the real Gary Collins, to go to for this. I want to thank everybody that's been listening in the YouTube stream. I'm sorry for my technical difficulties in the beginning, but at least I didn't pull and scream, because there's nobody to scream at but myself for my audio being out. And I want to thank everybody. Remember to download us. I want to thank America's humble servant, Benjamin Jeremy Stein, for, of course, being who he is. If you decide to lead us out in song tonight, you're more than welcome to.
I would like to tell people that they can see us on The World According to Ben Stein. And also, I would like you to read me in The American Spectator.
Yes, but I've always read Ben in the American Spectator. But you don't want to lead us out in song? You're just...
Oh, I'm sorry. Tonight, more than any time before, this heart of mine will be breathing down your neck. Well, I don't remember all the words of that song, but God bless you all, one and all, and God bless America. And we are really, really grateful and happy that we live in America. Thank you, God, for letting me be born in America.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. Thank you, guys, again. Thank you, guys.
God bless you, everybody. Gary, nice seeing you as always.
Good seeing you, Ben.